we're back on The Real News, and like I say, we're going to continue with news through this hour. Next hour, I would like for people to call in, comment. That is what this broadcast is for. It's a forum for the listeners to share ideas, vent, say what's on your mind. So go ahead, Brian, let's continue with the news this week.
I wanted to cover this being the 42nd anniversary of the incident this past Monday, June 8th. USS Liberty attacked by Israel in international waters. This is from Press TV, the only mainstream media outlet probably in the world that covered this. A deadly Israeli attack on a U.S. ship, the incident largely kept in the dark by Washington, receives new attention with survivors reliving the painful memory. USS Liberty survivors gathered in Washington Monday to commemorate the 42nd anniversary of the incident and expound on how they were sprayed with bullets by America's closest ally. On June 8th, 1967, the unarmed spy ship USS Liberty was on duty in international waters off the Sinai Peninsula when it was bombarded by Israeli fighter jets and torpedo boats. The 2-hour-long attacks killed at least 34 sailors, wounded 173 others, and nearly sunk the ship. The attack on the Liberty came at a time when Israel had engaged in a brief but intense war with Egypt and its Arab allies, which coincided with the U.S. war in Vietnam. Although the ship was clearly marked as an American vessel, Israelis declared the attack on the Liberty as a simple case of friendly fire and mistaken identity. Despite overwhelming evidence of the contrary, former U.S. President Lyndon Johnson accepted the Israeli claim and canceled all investigations into the incident. It was a case of mistaken identity. I do not care if every man drowned and the ship sank. We will not embarrass an ally, Johnson had told his opponents, who demanded an open congressional hearing to address the Israeli claim. USS Liberty survivor Rick Almet, however, begged to differ. There was a conspiracy between our government and Israel, so that's the reason why they didn't pursue it and why investigations were covered up, because the alliance of Israel and the United States, he told Press TV. In a separate interview with Press TV, Jim Smith, another surviving member of the USS Liberty crew, said the incident was an intentional act by Israel to sink a ship with all hands and no survivors. While there are many conspiracy theories as to why Israel attacked the ship of its top ally, Ernie Gallo, who heads the USS Liberty Veterans Association, told Press TV that the attack was a fact designed to pave the way for an Israeli military incursion into the Golan Heights. In 2003, an independent committee comprised of retired high-ranking military officers and a former U.S. ambassador to the Middle East joined forces to investigate the Liberty attack and subsequent cover-up. Their pleas for an investigation, however, have fallen on deaf ears in the Congress as it continues to ignore the facts presented on the Liberty attack. Former U.S. military and political officials have said they have been ordered to put a lid on the controversy surrounding the USS Liberty attack. We are never going to speak of it, and we caution everyone else involved that they could never speak of it again, said former Court Administrator Isaac C. Kidd.
We have an excellent documentary called Loss of Liberty. If anyone would email us or contact us, be happy to give it to you. This is another false flag event. The Loss of Liberty is a DVD that I know Al, one of our sponsors, really enjoys giving out. It's great for veterans to wake them up to the fact that a false flag event, government-sponsored terrorism or self-inflicted terrorism, is nothing new. 9/11 was nothing new. But here, 1967 USS Liberty attack. I forget, in the video it tells how big the American flag was, but I mean, it was like a 40-foot flag. It was huge. And the story goes that the only reason the attack subsided was because some Russian spy ships came up and
they wanted to see what was going on. They saw all this activity. The Russians just happened to be in the vicinity, and they wanted to check it out. And as soon as they arrived, all of a sudden, well, the Israelis backed off.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, this was all done to justify the United States engaging into the war, and they were going to claim Egypt had attacked the ship.
Exactly. We were trying to go after Egypt, but of course it went wrong, and it was just a cover-up after that.
It reminds me of the, 6 months ago, something like that, don't hold me to it, where they were trying to claim that the Iranian gunboats had fired on them. And,
right.
This is nothing new. Look into your history for yourself. Look into the USS attack on the Liberty. Look into the Bilderberg Group. Look into the Bohemian Grove, the Federal Reserve System, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the Emergency Banking Act of 1933, and learn the true history, not that whitewashed, dumbed-down history that they peddle out in the schools, but the actual legitimate history. It goes all the way back to the founding of our country in 1776.
This is an ancient technique here, utilized for thousands of years to involve a ship. I mean, we have the USS Maine, Havana Harbor, started the Spanish-American War. There's
Lusitania,
the USS Greer, the USS Cole. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It's nothing new. It's an age-old technique that works, and that's why they do it.
They give us to say it again, the problem, reaction, solution. They give us the problem, our ship is attacked.
What are we going to do about it?
The reaction of the American people is, do something about it. We're not going to have that. Then the solution is to engage into a war that we would have never condoned if they had not gave us the problem reaction.
Remember George Bush standing up there on the fire truck? The people that brought these towers down are going to hear from all of us soon.
Yeah.
Let's go get them, yeah.
And here, 8 years later, $1 trillion later for a bankrupt country, we're in Iraq, Afghanistan, rattling the sabers. Well, we've been in Pakistan. We're air raiding villages in Pakistan. And rattling the sabers in North Korea. I mean, and here we are hopelessly bankrupt and nationalizing the banks, confiscating the auto industry, and riding the economic collapse straight down, all by design.
And like we always say here, I mean, you have to put it in perspective. Why is Iran and North Korea, Syria, what are these countries, what is their real point of view? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, are they evil? Do they just not like us? Do they promote terrorism? But you have to look at it from their perspective, too. How long we've been involved over there, like in Iran, particularly with the overthrow of the Shah in 1953, democratically elected leader.
The Mossadegh, democratically elected in 1953, he wouldn't let British Petroleum control the oil wells. He wanted to nationalize them. He threw British Petroleum out, and then the CIA, through the American government, overthrew Mossadegh and installed their puppet, the Shah. You see, that's the kind of history that the American people are unaware of, but the Iranian people have yet to forget. You know, we keep our big nose in their business, and they usually don't like it, and then we get blowback from it. It's because we're there is the reason that they're fighting us.
And these are countries that also don't want anything to do with our style financial system, which of course is just enslavement. They don't have central banks, just like we do.
They don't want our type of media, our filthy TV, our pornography, our type of music, the homosexuality. They don't want any of that. They have a whole different type of lifestyle, but they're being forced now that, like, Iraq's been conquered with no good reason, unjustified war of aggression for no good reason, to the tune of $1 trillion. But the United States calls everyone that fights against us terrorists, but actually they're freedom fighters trying to liberate their country from a foreign occupier.
And it all goes back to New World Order assimilation. In order to really have a New World Order, you have to assimilate all countries into that matrix. You have to throw all the ingredients into a blender, chop them all up, push puree, get them homogenized in order for this thing to work.
And that's exactly why our economy is purposely being dismantled. That's why all of our manufacturing jobs were purposely exported. That's why our country is borderless. No matter which party gets in, you can't drag them kicking and screaming to secure our border. They absolutely will not do it, although the American people overwhelmingly support border security. It will not happen because that does not facilitate into the plan of the destruction of America by design, which is what this New World Order, globalist international bankers that have hijacked our government are doing brazenly, openly, and the bailouts with no accountability. They don't even tell who got the trillions or how much or why. The Federal Reserve does not even tell Congress, should open the eyes of anyone that is still doubting this and who actually controls our government. The power lies with the bankers. It does not lie at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Barack Obama is continuing the failed policies of George W. Bush. He can't get us out of the war because people more powerful than him got us into it. We got just a couple minutes before we come up on a break. Next hour, we are going to take your phone calls. We've got a little bit more news that we want to cover. You're listening to The Real News, Farron and Brian on WSIC 1400, WDSL 1520, streaming at libertynewsradio.com. We will be back after the break.